We all need a good history lesson. And boy, do I love history, especially Middle Eastern history. Let's listen in.
Hi, I just wanted to say that obviously Hamas is evil and bad. Like, it's, I don't support religious extremism or fundamentalism in any, don't laugh at me, thank you, but religious extremism or fundamentalism in any form. However, to me, what I'm just really confused on is why you don't support the citizens of the people living in Gaza and the West Bank, why you don't support them being able to also live inside of Israel.
Why don't I support them being able to live inside of Israel? Because they would immediately vote to destroy the state of Israel and interpolate another terrorist group like Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, endangering every Jew in the region. Everyone knows this. A single state is not a solution. It would endanger every Jewish life in the region. This is why Israel has pursued a two-state solution. It's why the international community wants a two-state solution. The only party that doesn't actually want some sort of two-state solution seems to be the Palestinian Authority, which has rejected every deal ever put in front of it, and Hamas, which is seeking to kill Jews in, by the way, a non-settlement area. That's not even an area that's controversial. That is not even a disputed area where they were murdering Jews. That was just outside the Gaza Strip. That's been Israeli territory since 1947-48.
But historically speaking, okay.
Let me ask you a quick counter question. America is a country of 330 million people. There are a billion Muslims across the earth. Many of them live in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and have very, very different opinions on politics and women's rights than I assume you do. You proclaim that you're secular and you don't like religious fundamentalism. How would you feel about importing, say, 300 million of those people into the United States? Would that make you feel like, is that a good idea or a bad idea?
I believe the reason that those people are I believe the reason why they are religiously extreme is because of the conditions that they live under, because of the actions of America.
That's absurd and foolish. I'm sorry, that's absurd and foolish.
That's not absurd and foolish at all. Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that's absurd and foolish is because religious fundamentalism in the Islamic world did not begin in the year 1948. To pretend otherwise is to ignore literally all of Middle Eastern history. I mean, the fact of the matter is that since the time of Muhammad, and really since the year about 1100, when moderate Islam was pushed off to the side and the printing press was banned, the Islamic world has been replete with fundamentalism and extremism, repression of women, destruction of religious minorities or subjugation of religious minorities. All the happy talk about how everybody was living in some sort of utopian paradise where Jews were treated wonderfully is belied by the actual facts on the ground under the Ottoman Empire, under Arab-speaking empires. Again, this idea that religious fundamentalism is driven by the West is honestly, it's so narcissistic on the part of Westerners to believe that the only reason that religious Muslims believe what religious Muslims believe is because of us. I promise you, religious Muslims don't believe what they believe because of you. They believe what they believe because of what they believe. And it's a soft bigotry of low expectations to pretend that radical Muslims don't have opinions of their own. It must simply be driven by their lack of material success. That is not how the world works. People don't all think like you. It's okay, no, let her respond, please. That's fine.
Obviously not everyone thinks like I do. However, when you are put into a situation where when people are backed into a corner and they don't have proper conditions to live under, they're way more likely to resort to religious fundamentalism. They're way more likely to resort to extremism in general.
I don't disagree with that, but I will deny that that's the West's fault.
Hamas is in terms of like just the other neighboring Arab countries. I don't think continual war and in the Middle East and all the stuff that America did in the Middle East, which I'm sure you have criticisms of. I don't think that really helped get rid of the influence of groups like ISIS or Al Qaeda. Because that just...
Well, I mean, it certainly helped get rid of some of the influence of ISIS because we killed a huge number of them. But again, the notion that ISIS and Al Qaeda and all terrorism is to blame on the West ignores all of Islamic history and the history of the region. It ignores the fact that there were Islamic invasions of Europe back in the 1300s. Again, this sort of ignorance of history that is rooted in the idea that all the forces you see today must be the result of things that America is doing or the West is doing. I don't see any evidence for that. The times, by the way, when the Arab street has risen up, they promptly replaced more moderate dictators with things like the Muslim Brotherhood, which is exactly what happened during the so-called Arab Spring when they took over for Mohammed Morsi and promptly put in place the Muslim Brotherhood. You can keep blaming economics until the cows come home. You know what the solution to that would be, by the way? I have a solution for this. If what you're saying is right, I have a solution for this. Here's the solution. In 2005, Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is an area that is less population dense than both Singapore and Hong Kong. Hundreds of millions, nay, billions of dollars flowed into the Gaza Strip. If people there, and Hamas in particular, really wanted to develop the lives of their citizens and make them better, they could have, and they should. And yet I see very little demand for that. At a certain point, people are going to have to take responsibility for their own actions and stop blaming America and the West for making shitty decisions. I appreciate it.
Good history lesson. Two-state solution, they don't want that. They want a one state from the river to the sea. It should be an Islamic state. Because of their extreme conditions, that what creates extreme extremism and jihadists? No, because it's not about land. That's the problem. And people are not getting the message. It's not about land. It's about Islam taking over Israel from the river to the sea. That it should be an Islamic state. And not only should it be an Islamic state, but everybody should follow the ways of Islam. That's what it's about. That's what the history shows us. If it was about conditions, well, Hamas got billions of dollars that they could have built a beautiful Gaza Strip, as they say, the Singapore in the Middle East. But no, they chose to use the money for tunnels, they used for weapons, rather than to take care of their people. So that's the real truth. And people don't want to buy that because it doesn't fit their narrative. But if we're honest with ourselves, we see that that is indeed the truth.